Hello and welcome to the new tournament of the Magnus Carslen Tour. So after some over-the-board chess in vacancy at the Tata chess tournament, now we are migrating back to online. And actually this tournament, the Opera Rapid tournament, just started out in a very particular fashion, because in the first round Magnus Carlsen just lost again. So he actually played quite badly, and well, basically continued his struggle, that since he turned 30, his chess seemed to be just worse. But of course this must just be a coincidence. So but now we are covering the second round, and let's see whether he manages to bounce back. So Carlsen is with the white pieces against Levon Aronian. And so the regulation is that both players have 15 minutes and 10-second increment after each move. And actually this is the kind of tournament when they start out with a preliminary round. Everybody plays against everyone, so 16 there are 16 players, so 15 rounds, and the best 8 are making it to the knockout phase. So that's why the fact that Carlsen lost in the first round is not a huge deal. Of course he has to bounce back and start winning games. So, and next to Carlsen there are all basically all the superstars are playing. Maxim Vachier-Lagrave, Hikaru Nakamura, Aronian he is facing now, Wesley. So probably the only player who doesn't play is Fabiano Caruana, probably prepares for the candidates. So let's get started with the game. So now comes d4, knight f6. So basically Carlsen plays d4. That's sort of his go-to move if he feels like a bit insecure, I would say. Comes c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, and Aronian plays the move bishop b4, which is more or less his favorite. And so Carlsen usually does not go into bishop g5 and all these very complicated lines. He likes the more strategic approach, c takes d5 and e takes d5. Now comes bishop g5, and these are the structures, actually, these sort of Carlsbad structures, black might play c6, that Carlsen is pretty much fond of. So comes h6, bishop h4, castle, e3, bishop f5, all very well known theory, bishop d3, queen takes d3, and knight bd7. And this is the first point where Carlsen thinks for a bit, and he plays the move queen b5. So here castle is a lot more common. So queen b5 has been played before, but nevertheless is a strange I mean it feels like a novelty because it hasn't been played at the top level, and also seems a bit strange. So what you're doing is basically there is a double attack here. So black is forced to take, and after b takes, knight b6. So now if he stops for a second, so white has an additional bishop, but this isn't supposed to be a big deal, and the light squares of white are supposed to be actually really quite weak. So the black knight one day would like to jump in, the other knight would like to jump in, and yeah, so the position is supposed to be more or less equal, but you have to be precise with black. And here comes knight d2, and actually Aronian makes just a very big mistake, which is not that obvious at first sight, but still against Carlsen that is just a huge mistake. So he plays the move queen d7, offering the queen exchange. And here actually I invite you to stop the video and try to figure out what happens, or what is the evaluation after exchanging the queens. So first of all, if you are playing against Magnus Carlsen, who is pretty much the best endgame player ever, going into an endgame out of the opening to an endgame which Carlsen most likely is very familiar with, is pretty much a suicide. And the thing is that this endgame is actually very bad. And the problem is that after taking, now black, so what black would like to do is play on these light squares, but white still has one knight left, which is very good in controlling these squares. And at the same time, this bishop is going to be very active by going g3, attacking this guy. And what white does is pushes a4. So now I would like to push this a pawn down the board. You have actually, so the position would be very good for black if the d7 and d2 knights would be just exchanged, but you actually can't do that. And now black has one more knight than he would like to, and these knights are just horrible. and we will see that the queenside pawns of black are going to be very vulnerable. So now why I would like to push this pawn. So black needs to stop them, needs to play a5, and but now this pawn is going to be weak. Knight is going to come bishop g3, and white is just going to put his king on d3, play f3, e4, and essentially the whole board is going to be controlled by Carlsen, and this endgame is just horrible for black. So now comes king e2, rook f e8, rook h b1, making even further sure that this b6 knight is just a horrible piece, never going to be able to be rerouted because of the b7 pawn. And after rook e6, bishop g3, there is actually a huge issue just protecting your pawns, because white would also like to play the move rook b5 and looking after this pawn. So yeah, it's just if you move rook c8, then come rook b5, this pawn is hanging. The position is just really horrible. So here basically Aronian decides, like, let's try to go forward as sort of the way to defend. So plays the move c5, but now the b5 square is forever weak. Comes rook b5. This guy is hanging. This guy is hanging. You might double up on the b file, putting pressure against the b7 pawn. Here came c4, bishop c7, looking after this knight, rook c6, and even you can just take it, because black needs to guard the d5 pawn, so only the knight can take back. And well, what's going to happen is that white is going to play e4 maybe after the support of f3, and the center is going to be open up. This pawn is going to be weak. These pieces are just completely horrible, and white is going to be able to just roll over. But Carlsen is a very patient endgame player. First he takes over on the king side, plays g4, king f8, h4, king e8, and now comes the move to break through, e4. And yeah, there is very little black can do here. Came rook d8, and you don't even bother taking pawns anymore. Now you just play e5, further occupying the center, and there is going to be these pawns that are going to just suffocate black. Came f6, f4, and well, Aronian decided that there is no way he can defend this position passively, so he broke out and played the move g5. But the problem is that white can just take, and after f5 there will be two connected pass pawns in the center. Black took, and d4, well, tries to get some counterplay, but Carlsen, absolutely no signs that he lost his first game, just goes after Aronian with a very nice fashion, plays the move rook h1, doesn't even care about these pawns. After d takes c, knight e4, his pawns are just faster. Even though there is c2, so this pawn is so closed, there is no support to that pawn. So for that reason, this is actually never going to make it. Now comes e6, rook d4, and well, there are multiple ways to win this. You can already give some checks here, because so if you play rook h8 check, let's make the move. King e7, rook h7, and actually your pawn is going to be promoted with a check. There's, for example, king d8, e7 check, king e8, and you can just play rook e5. You don't have to bother that black makes a queen here, because your moves are coming with check, another check, and after king c7 there's rook e8, and I think mate is next move, something like knight d7, queen d8, and that's about it. Well, Carlsen played in a more pragmatic fashion, played first rook e5, so now you're really threatening e7 and rook h8, so black has to just give up everything. He plays the move knight d5. So here's a little tactic that probably, if you want, you can find. You can stop the video. So for the time being, it seems like this knight is controlling everything, but you can just remove it. So you can take. Black cannot take back because the knight f6 comes and forking the rook. So after rook d5, Aronian need to take on e4, but after king d2, the king is going to take care of this guy, and these two are going to be queens very soon. The game ended actually quite quickly. Came rook g4 check, rook h8, king e7, one more check. You cannot come upwards, which would be very nice to blockade the pawns, but there is checkmate in one, so you have to go backwards. And after f6, now you want to make a queen with a check again. So if rook a6 comes, then, well, for example, f7 is just going to make a queen. King e7, you can make a rook d7 check, and when king takes, then actually f8, not only making a queen, that it's also a check. So you are going to then just checkmate the black king. So after f6, there came some final checks from Aronian. c1 check, took, and now just white is just jumping up. Sorry, not jumping, but the kings cannot do that, but walking up, and this is it. Rook h8 check, and now again you're making a queen, king. Actually, you're mating the black king. You don't even make a queen here. It's rook d7, and that's it. Yeah, so that's about this game. Just a beautiful game by the world champion Magnus Carlsen, showing absolutely no signs that he just lost a game. So in this format, you lose a game and you start the next one. So you actually could be pretty much in a bad mood, or you still had the other game in your mind or whatever. It's not like a classical tournament when you have a day to forget about it. It's just the next game starts, and Carlsen played as a world champion, just almost a perfect game. Actually, just a perfect game. Very good opening, big mistake by Aronian to exchange the queens, and just the best endgame play in the world. Just rolled over Levon Aronian, who's known to be an extremely strong player. Yeah, so that's about this game. So this preliminary round is going to go on for a while. They play for 3 days, all these 15 rapid games. So my upcoming videos are going to be about this one. So see you in the next video.